Hi, I'm Nick Volz, and I teach trumpet at Loyola University, New Orleans. Today I'll be playing for you the All-State Etude in C minor. Here is the Allegretto by Böhme. Okay, so as you work on this etude, a couple things you'll want to keep in mind are first and foremost the tempo. As a judge, I would much rather hear this a little bit under tempo and clean than trying to play it too quickly and sloppy. It's marked Allegretto, which means rather lively, but it is less lively than Allegro. So your textbook Allegro usually starts around 120, so this should certainly be less than that. It could even be in the double digits. It should just have a nice liveliness to it and spirit. Okay, let's look at these marks on the notes, the dots above them, right? A lot of times we call these staccato marks, and they are traditionally staccato marks, which would mean separated, not necessarily short. I'm treating these as I would most of the markings in late Romantic trumpet literature. If you look at the Arbin book, there are staccato dots throughout. I think they just want them well articulated and have a certain bounciness to them. It's marked légère. We may be more familiar with leggero, but again, a certain lightness to it. So I'm going to treat them that way. You'll see the same marks if you look in Oscar Böhme's book of Etudes or in his concerto. Those are written throughout, and I think it just means well articulated. The other thing, this piece is in C minor, so you're going to want to make sure you're comfortable in the key of C minor, not just the scale, but the arpeggio, and all of its related keys, right? G major, dominant, maybe F minor as the subdominant, all those things. So, in my opinion, the most technical passage in this, actually, as I look over the page, there are two really demanding technical passages. I'll address each of them. The first appears near the end of the third line, where we have constant 16th notes, plus the piece is modulated to G major from C minor. So let's look at that. As you work on this, again, you want to go under tempo, maybe even take the tongue out of the equation and just make it beautiful and musical. Let me try to demonstrate. So you can take it super slow and get used to hearing the intervals and blowing through them as a melodic line. And you can slowly speed it up and even incorporate little improvisatory exercises. That's something I might do with some of my students. Here, I'll demonstrate. Right, so I doubled them, so I really get used to hearing it and blowing through. That way, as I add the tongue to the equation, I'm not changing anything, I'm not approaching them any differently, I'm blowing right on through. Okay, the other spot that I find particularly challenging is the last two lines, or that I should say I often hear mistakes when I judge this. Look at the last two lines. It's the longest time in this etude where we have continuous 16th notes. So it's a lot of tonguing. It also appears at the very bottom of the piece. So if we're accustomed to starting at the beginning and playing all the way to the end, number one, we're mentally fatigued. Number two, maybe we have a certain amount of chop fatigue, and we start to associate that with the ending and maybe even make it more difficult in our minds. So I like to play a little game where you take 2 bars at a time. So start 2 bars from the very end and work that up as slow as you need to, but work it up to tempo until you can play it several times in a row accurately. Then the 2 bars before that, you work that up and you play the 4 bars to the end, right? And then you go 6 bars to the end. And essentially it's the last 8 bars are constant 16th notes. And you make repetitions of this so you have a positive association with that ending, and you have this association on fresh chops. So that way as you reach the bottom of the page, you're actually excited to play that. And the ending should have some excitement to it. So that's a great way to work this piece. Maybe start from the end and work your way backwards, maybe 1 line at a time until you get all the way to the beginning. Well, I hope this video helped you in your preparation for the honor band audition. Good luck and have fun.